Hey everyone, hope you're doing great. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all my new friends for joining us, and to any returning friends we have. Thank you so much for being here as well. My name is Anna. I am a maker and I live in Seattle, Washington. And this is my monthly update video where I talk to you about everything that I've been working on over the last month. Mostly knitting, but I do have some sewing projects this month as well. So, sorry, I'm feeling a little frazzled and I am not having the best hair day. So this hat is, and the light's being weird, but anyway, I'm here. We're going to talk about knitting and it's going to be great. Yes. So I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is just a really easy, simple 1x1 hat that I made last year. It's in a 100% acrylic yarn that I got for free from a woman that I knew. And it's very large and oversized. It was kind of inspired by the Acne Studios beanie, which I'll show here. They're really pretty, but because Acne is a designer brand, they're like $150, which is a very painful price for a beanie when I know that I can make one myself for $0, which is what this cost me. So yeah, I made this in like March of last year. It's super thick rim, and it's not particularly warm. It's also a little big. I think if I were to make it again, I made this on 6mm needles and I think it's 80 stitches around. If I were to make it again, I would probably go to closer to 70, so it would be like there's a good amount of extra fabric here, but it works. It gets the job done, and the light behind me is really annoying. It's cloudy today, so it's just like white outside. But anyway, that's irrelevant. Okay, so we will start with finished knitting objects, and then I'll talk you through some finished sewing objects, and then we'll move on to works in progress for knitting and sewing. So I think the first whip that I talked to you about last month was this sweater vest, which I have now finished. This is kind of a hacked pattern, kind of a self-draft situation. I'm calling it my Slate slipover. It's a cabled slipover. It's kind of a hack, or like a mix between the petite knit holiday slipover, which I've made before, and then the cable, like the construction is similar to that, and then the cable patterns come from a free drops pattern called Sage Strings. But the stitch counts are not the same as any of those patterns. Basically, it's like the same design as Sage Strings with the similar construction to the holiday slipover, because the original Sage Strings pattern was knit bottom up in 2 pieces, and I knit this one top down in 2 pieces. Well, I guess top down and then round. So I started at the back, cast on, knit down to this armhole separation, picked up stitches for the front, did the same, and then joined in the round for the rest. It has 2x2 ribbing and 3 cables, just like little twist cables on the front and back, and then it has 2x2 ribbing on the hem and a split hem on the sides, just like the holiday slipover. The only thing is that on the front there are these 4-stitch panels between the cables, and in the drops pattern it had you knit 1, purl 2, knit 1 on these, and I didn't really like the way that was looking because I tried it a couple of times. If you go back to my previous video, last month's video, you'll see that there was some trial and error involved in this process, but I decided in the end to just leave it with 4 knit stitches, and I think it makes a really interesting effect on the bottom hem. It's like a detail that not many people would notice, but I think it looks really cool. Also, I learned how to do a tubular bind off for 2x2 ribbing in this project, and I really, really like it. I had never done it before, and I really like the way it looks. You end up having to use 2 needles, so you put all your knit stitches on the front needle and then all your purl stitches on the back needle, and it's kind of like a Kitchener stitch. It's just like a normal Italian bind off, but there's like an extra step. But it turned out really nice, and I like that I left the tails of my Italian bind off really long and then thread them through the kind of like tubular part of this edging. So if it needs to be a little tighter, I can kind of pull on that tail and it will pull the whole ribbing a little bit tighter. Same thing on the neck. The neck of this is pretty small, like that's a pretty small neck hole, and it sits pretty high up on my neck. So I do have that tail in there. If I need a little bit of extra room, I can kind of wiggle it a little bit. But I'm really, really happy with the way this turned out. I've worn it 3 times maybe now already, and I finished at the beginning of the month, so it's getting good wear out of it. The yarn's holding up really well. This is a yarn from Joann Fabrics, which is a craft store here in the US. It's just their house brand roving yarn. I will link it down below for you. It's very affordable. It's pretty good quality. It's pretty soft. It's not like, it's got a little bit of like rusticness to it, but not in a prickly or itchy way. It just has like a little bit more texture to your fingers versus like a superwash merino that's super smooth. I would say it's pretty soft, but it's woolen spun. I mean, it's very lightly spun, but the fibers aren't aligned, so it's got a little bit of like fuzz and halo to it, but it's not scratchy or anything. And since this isn't, I'm never going to wear this next to my skin anyway, it's more of just like the wool is offering me warmth. This is 100% wool, and this is a little light gray color. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's very cute, it's very warm, it's very practical, and it will be a good transitional piece for me going into spring, if spring ever arrives, because we had a false spring at the end of January, beginning of February, and then it got very cold again over the last couple of weeks. So hopefully soon we'll have a real spring. Okay, the next work in progress that I showed you in my last video was this that is now finished. This is another kind of, I mean, it's not really hacked, modified drops pattern. And it's this balaclava. They're just so trendy, and it's actually really comfortable. I finished it and I showed it to my husband, and he said it looked like a knight's hood. Like, you know, when in like medieval movies and stuff, when knights are wearing chainmail, they wear this hood underneath. That's what he said it looked like. So I call it now my knight's hood. But anyway, it's this balaclava. This is the construction and everything is the pattern called Northern Wind or Northern Springs or something from Drops. And the original pattern is knit in a broken rib, but I just did mine in a plain 2x2 rib. For this, I used the Patton's Classic Wool Merino, which is a discontinued yarn, but it's 100% merino wool. I used the same yarn in my Seasons cardigan by Ozetta, which I've shown. I finished. You should see the finished object in my previous video, because I finished it right at the very, very beginning of January. So yeah, I guess I could put it on for you. Just disregard my hair situation here. I've seen a lot of balaclavas that are really tight on the face, which is cute, but for me, I have a huge head, okay? I have a really big head and I have a lot of hair, and so I just wanted something that'd be a little bit looser. I don't know if that was the right call. Maybe it would look a little better if it was. I don't think that would actually look very good on me. So anyway, I left mine a little looser. You know, you just let a little hair poke out of it. Make it cute. I don't know. I think it's cute, and it comes down pretty far on my neck. So I could like tuck it into my coat or a sweatshirt. I guess I am wearing a sweatshirt, but a sweater or something. If I was to put something over this, it would keep my neck, the back of my neck and everything warm. It's really soft. It's really cozy. It's just like wearing a hug on your head. And I know it looks a little ridiculous, but I kind of like it. And then I like that because the neck hole is so big, I can just slip it off and then have it lay like a hoodie in the back. If I'm wearing like a coat, if I go inside to a shop or something and I have my coat on over it, but I just want to pull my hood down, then I can do that, and I'm looking very glamorous. But yeah, so this was, where did it go? Oh my gosh. Pause for a second. I'm just gonna readjust myself here. Okay. So yeah, it was a really quick and fun project. You knit like this front panel, and then you pick up stitches around the side and knit flat all the way around the hood, the face hole, which you could make smaller if you wanted. And you do a little bit of decrease shaping here in the back. You can kind of see for the back of your neck, and then you do some increases and knit around. I ended up knitting mine a little bit longer than the pattern. Was just using up all the yarn that I had. This was about 150 grams of yarn, I would say, of worsted weight. And I think I knit this on a 4mm needle. And then you also have some increases here on the front. And then you do 2x2 ribbing around the face. And this is actually where I learned to do the 2x2 bind off first. I finished this first before I did the slip over, and did the 2x2 ribbed bind off, and it just looks so nice. The finish on it is really pretty. And I did the same thing on this where I left a really long tail, so if I need to like pull the face a little bit tighter, the edges will just get pulled in a little bit more. So yeah, I've used this a little bit already, like when I'm on my bike underneath my helmet. I haven't gone skiing or anything this season, but I think this would be really good for that. And then I do have a couple coats that don't have hoods, so it rains a lot here, so that would be good for this, to keep the rain off my head. So yeah, that's my balaclava, my gorgeous, gorgeous girls balaclava. Yeah, it was a great way to use up scrap yarn. I had a ball and a half of this left after I finished my cardigan, and I used it all up. My third finished object, which you also saw as a whip last time, is my Hanko sweater by Sari Nordland. Here she is. It's a drop shoulder striped sweater, a little bit cropped on the front. I knit this with a 100% cashmere yarn. That what I reclaimed this periwinkle color was a J. Crew sweater. And then the contrast, this green is also 100% cashmere, and then the white, I held one strand of 100% alpaca that I had in my stash, and then one strand of the wool and mohair yarn that I used to make a little cardigan for my niece, which I talked about in the previous video, that I got from Color Mart. So I was just basically trying to use up scraps on the stripes of this guy. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's super cute. You do the neck and then shape these shoulder details with short rows, which I think are really pretty. And then you knit the front. Oh, it just started raining like really hard, so I'm sorry if you can hear the rain. You knit the front and back flat, and then join for the round on the body, knit all the way down, and then you pick up for the sleeves and knit down as well. In the pattern, so I decided in the pattern it tells you to knit this last band and then not do these stripes before the cuff, so basically it would just be one straight color all the way, but I just thought I wanted to break this band and this band up. So I did the stripes, and then you bind off, you do your Italian bind off in the color, the contrast colors as well, which I think was a really fun detail. I also really like that you do like a faux seam at the beginning of the round. You can see here there's like a purl round that makes this faux seam, kind of helps to hide the jog when you change colors. Yeah, so I really liked this pattern. It's by Sari Nordland. I'm not sure if I said that already, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. It's super comfortable. I've worn it 2 or 3 times already. I only finished it like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I knit this on 4mm needles, which is half a size up from the pattern, because I did a swatch. Look at me swatching. I know it's again, it's out of my nature, but I did swatch for this, and I'm really happy with how she turned out. It's so soft, it's so comfy, and it's big and boxy and drapey, so I think it'll be okay in the spring as well, because it's not super warm, but it's very cute. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit of pooling at the elbows, you can kind of see here, because I've worn this a couple of times. And the sleeves are a little bit short, but I used up, again, all of the yarn that I had for this. The body's a little cropped as well. Like, I think I did the 2 arms and then did the bottom ribbing. And I would have liked to do like maybe 1 or 2 more rounds on the bottom ribbing to make it a similar width to this, but I ran out of yarn. So this is what I ended up with. I don't think it's that noticeable. It's not really, yeah, it's not that different. So anyway, there's my Hanko. I really like it. Oh, also I knitted the collar, which is a fold over and sew down collar. I knitted it about 2 centimeters shorter than the pattern called for. And it also sits up really pretty high on the neck. So just FYI, if you're interested in making this sweater, I'm really happy with mine. It's super soft and cozy. Very excited about it. Okay, I have 2 more finished objects for you. No, 3, wow. That I'm not sure that you've seen yet. All 3 of these. So I'll start with this one, which is a quick little guy. This is a hat that I made. It's loosely based on a pattern I found on Ravelry, but I ended up changing the stitch counts and stuff because the yarn I used was a little different. This is a 100% camel yarn that I got on a cone from Color Mart as well, to match a shawl that I have that's camel hair and camel colored. That's like a fade. And I got this to match with it, and this is much more rough feeling than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more smooth, but it's a little kind of stiff. And I actually think I'm going to rip this back and add a little bit more length to it because I kind of want the brim to fold up a little wider. Like I want it to be, I just got bored of knitting this and I cast it off a little early, which is a trend you'll see here in a minute. But yeah, I don't think it needs to be this wide, but maybe like another inch or so would be good. But I did crown decreases because this is a 2x2 rib, by the way. I did this cool crown decrease, which I took from the pattern. I don't remember the pattern. I'll link it for you, but it's a free pattern. And so you just decrease on either side of these two ribs and it makes this interesting shape. And it's kind of peaked at the top. That could be the way I blocked it, but I don't know. I think it makes a cool shape crown. So if I do end up ripping it back, I'm gonna have to rip all the way back to here, but this is a pretty chunky yarn. I think I did this on 5mm needles and it's actually 2 strands of that Camel yarn. Here you can see because I did not weave in my ends. Sorry, Mom. She always makes fun of me for that. Let me get my face out of there, but you can kind of see the yarn here. It was advertised as an Aran weight. I wouldn't call it an Aran weight. I'd call it more of like a DK, maybe a worsted, but I held 2 strands together for this. So it would be super warm and chunky and knit up really fast. And it has softened up quite a lot with washing, and I think it will probably get softer and softer as I use it. But yeah, this is a little hat that I knit up in like 24 hours. And so it will be good for the rest of the winter and spring. And it does match my shawl really well. So that was that. I cast on 72 stitches. I probably could have gone with like 4 or 6 more stitches. It's a little tight around my head here. Again, I'll put it on for you. Please disregard my hair. So yeah, this is how it looks on. I just think it would look, I don't know, I like a wider brim on my hats. I feel like it kind of helps balance it out. I want a brim that's more like that. And if I do, I have to pull it flat on my head, which I don't love. So I'm gonna maybe just knit a little bit more on the length of this guy. But yeah, there's my little hat. Gosh, the backlight combo with the frizzy hair is really not doing it for me. Sorry, everyone. I'm really struggling today. I tried to do my hair this morning and it did not take, unfortunately. Okay, back again. My next finished object, I'll show you this one, is a pair of socks. This is a pair of like worsted weight socks that I made and I wore, you can see, because they have some felting bobbling on them already. Yeah, it's felting actually. I'll show you. This is with one wear in boots. A little bit of felting on the heel, which I'm okay with. I honestly don't mind. I actually would prefer it to felt because it makes the fabric a little bit stronger. But now that I'm showing you, I want to pull the baubles off. Okay, this is, these are made with Busilla tapestry wool, which is 100% wool. It's discontinued, but I find it all the time in thrift stores and stuff. I really like it. It's very sturdy and very versatile. I've used it for quite a few projects now. So these are my little socks. They're just a worsted weight sock, but I didn't make them as house socks. I made them to be worn in shoes. And I mean, if after one wear they're that felted, I feel like now that's going to be a really sturdy place on the sock. I'm not sure how well you can see this with the lighting, but yeah, there we go. I feel like it's going to be really sturdy now that it's felted. But anyway, these were kind of a pattern I made up. I cast on 44 stitches. They are top down. I did a 2x2 ribbing at the top. The leg is kind of short because I got bored again. And then this heel is a new heel construction that I wanted to try from the Folk Socks book. I got this book from the library in the fall time, maybe, the newer edition actually. It's called Folk Socks by Nancy Bush, and it talks about all different kinds of construction methods and history for top-down socks. There's like 4 or 5 different heel construction methods, and there's a bunch of patterns in here as well. There's different toe construction methods. So I got this. I bought myself a copy of it after I had to turn it in at the library because I really liked it. This is the original copy. It's way less expensive than the newer copy for some reason. I bought this for like $5 secondhand. Whereas the newer copy, which has a blue cover, it goes for like $45 or something. I don't know. Maybe it's out of print and that's why, but I really like this. So check this book out if you can. There's lots of, like, you can see it talks about how to do the Dutch heel and the half handkerchief heel and this balbriggan heel. And so I kind of want to try all the different heel methods. But this heel is called the shaped common heel. And I was actually very inspired by these socks by Inga from Knitting Traditions, who, by the way, sent a lot of you my way. So thank you, Inga, for that. But she does a heel very similar to this on a lot of her vanilla socks. So you end up basically, you knit the heel, it's a heel flap and gusset construction, and you knit the heel flap with half your stitches, and then you do some little decreases at the middle to shape this heel kind of thing, and then you Kitchener it closed. So you just end up with like the whole heel flap is done, and then you just pick up around the edges of the heel flap, do your decreases, and keep going. And I really like the fit of it. It's really comfortable and it seems to be wearing well so far, so I think that was a fun option. And then I did a rounded toe, which I think Inga also does quite often, which is just like you would for like a hat, where you kind of do regular decreases all the way around and you end up with this more rounded shaped toe. Mine's kind of wonky because I wore it, and so it's kind of like, I think this one was on my left foot, so you can kind of see the way that it's slanted, but I actually like that because I feel like it fits my toes a little better, because more fabric can go on the big toe side and then it can slant where my toes slant. So yeah. However, these socks were kind of an experiment because the leg is kind of short because I got bored of just knitting them around and I wanted to do the heel. I also have not weaved any ends in because I'm lazy. So yeah, the heel or the leg is not that long, which is fine. I don't need a super long sock, but I made the same mistake on the foot. Because I was doing the rounded toe, I wasn't really sure how far, like when I'm doing a wedge toe, I know kind of how far I need to knit the foot before I start the toe, but because I was doing the rounded toe, I wasn't really sure how far I needed to knit before I did the toe. So I ended up making them quite a bit too short, and I blocked them and everything, and I tried them on and I was like, these are not gonna work. So I had two options. I could unravel the whole toe and then knit back up, or the second option, which is what I opted for. I picked up the stitches around the toe, cut the sock, picked up the stitches, knit another 10 rows, and then Kitchenered the toe back on. So that's why this little guy is sticking out here and why the stitches are a little wonky right here. That's my Kitchener stitch. But basically you can kind of see just the way that it blocked. Like, this is where I picked up again and knit 10 more rows before sewing the toe back on. Was it really any faster than ripping back? I don't know. It felt faster to me because I only had to knit this and then Kitchener instead of knitting all of this again. So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. It's not like a best practice, but it worked. It got the job done, and they're pretty sturdy and comfortable socks. So they honestly probably could have even been a little bit longer, but they do the job and they're comfortable. So I really like this heel construction. I'm not sure about the toe construction. If I'll do that again, there are a couple other toe options in here as well. But yeah, these are my first of several experiment pairs of socks that I want to do using the techniques from this book. So yeah, these are my little worsted weight socks. They're just socks for wearing. Not the cutest. They're just plain. I have more of this yarn left still, so I'll probably do another pair. I don't know if I have enough for a whole nother pair with this, but I do have some of this yarn in other colors I could do, like contrasting heels and toes and stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep making chunkier socks. The only other thing is that I think I should have done 48 stitches instead of 44 because they're a little tight. So for the next pair that I do, oh, and I did them on 3.25 millimeter needles, by the way. 2 at a time. That was another thing. This was my first time doing 2 at a time socks, which I did because I get second sock syndrome and I did not want to do that. So it was actually very easy. Once I got it going, I did them 1 at a time on the heel flap and then picked up for the gusset a little bit. I think I did the gusset increases 1 at a time and then I put them back on the same needle for the feet, and I even did the toes 2 at a time as well. So yeah, there's my socks. My first 2 at a time, my first shaped common heel, my first round toe. Lots of first on this. It was my late entry into the Crayabea Knitting Firsts count. And this is my Crayabea Cone Along project. Okay, I just really like Rebecca, if you couldn't tell. All right, last finished object, and then we'll get into whips, which I have 2 of. This one I just finished last night. This is a little pair of baby overalls that I made for my soon-to-be nephew. My sister-in-law is probably giving birth tomorrow. I think she's scheduled. So I knit these little overalls. I just think they're adorable. These are a free pattern. I think they're called Alvi from Filcolana. It's a free pattern on their website. And this is the smallest size, which I think is a little big. It's supposed to be 0 to 3 months. It seems a little big to me. But he lives in Texas, so it'll be warm for him to wear. Well, he will live in Texas. He's not alive yet. He's alive. He's not born yet. But he should be able to wear these for quite some time. I think they're so cute. So you do these, they have like a broken rib here at the bottom, and then you join and knit this little gusset in the middle to join the legs, and then you do some short row shaping in the back to make room for their little diaper bum. And then you do these stripes, and then all the details are in broken rib, kind of decrease for the front, bind off in the back, and then you knit the straps. And it was super quick. I think I knit this in less than a week. It was really fast. I want to say I started it it's on my Ravelry project page, but I think I started it on Monday and finished it on Saturday. So and I was working on, I knit this whole hat in between. So it was super quick. So if you have any babies coming, or babies that you need to knit for this summer, this is a great option. The yarn that I used for this is the sweater that I deconstructed in my previous video, the video I posted about 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, about reclaiming yarn, which if you have not seen, I will link in the cards here for you. But yeah, it's a 90% cotton, 10% linen blend, which I thought would be nice for a little summer guy. And then it's all the same yarn. I just dyed this contrast color. This is my first time dyeing with fiber reactive dye because it's cotton. And it worked okay. I had a green, I think it's the olive green fiber reactive dye from Jacquard that I had bought at just a little bit of for like 75 cents at a creative reuse craft store near me. And so I dyed it with twice. I ended up doing two rounds of dyeing with the green, and then it still wasn't quite dark enough. So I put some black and some yellow RIT dye in there, did an equal size scoop of black RIT dye and yellow RIT dye to kind of just darken the color up. And it turned out this really pretty, it's like a bluey green almost. It's definitely green, but there's some blue in it, which probably comes from the RIT dye, which is not really black. It's more of like a dark purple. But yeah, it turned out really pretty. And I have a little bit more of the contrast color yarn left. I have lots and lots of the main color yarn left. I have like most of the sweater still that I haven't unraveled. I'm going to use that for me to make a summer top or something. But yeah, it turned out so cute. And these little buttons, I'm not sure where they came from. I think they were from a bag of just like miscellaneous buttons that I had bought at Michael's quite a while ago. I will say, I pretty much followed the pattern for this exactly, except for the buttonholes. I did 2 yarn overs instead of 1 because I feel like the buttonholes are always way too small if I just do 1 yarn over. So, yeah, I love the broken rib detail. I usually don't like broken rib, but it looks really cute on this. And they turned out really cute, and I can't wait to see my little guy in this. It's gonna be really cute, my sweet nephew. So I'm gonna send these off in the mail tomorrow for my sister-in-law, and hopefully the little man will enjoy them. I guess it is February, it's March. I guess the summer outfit was a little premature, but since they're big, I think by the time summer hits and it gets hot for him, which will be like April, May, we'll be able to wear these. So cute. Love those. Okay, so that is all my finished knitting objects. I have 2 finished sewing objects, actually. I've been getting some wrist pain, my left wrist, because I knit too much, and I've been doing a lot of purling, which I feel like takes more. The way that I knit, I end up having to move my left wrist quite a lot because I knit continental, so my yarn's over here. And so I get this nerve pain right in the top of my wrist right here. If you've ever experienced that, let me know. It's not like a carpal tunnel. I feel like carpal tunnel is more tingly in your fingers. And it does feel like a nerve pain. It's got that pricking kind of sensation. and it's like a pinch almost. It's probably just like a pinched nerve from a lot of movement, but it's right in the top of my hand. So I try not to knit as much when that's flaring up. So I end up sewing more. I still knit, but I end up trying to give myself a little bit of a break by sewing. So I made a couple of project bags, and I really thought I wasn't a project bag person. I was like, I don't need that. I can just throw the whole skein in my bag and it's fine. But now that I have them, they are very handy. So this is the first one I made, and it has a bunch of miscellaneous crap in it right now. But this is the first one I made with some just like vintage quilting cotton that my mom had given me. And I just did these little drawstrings on the side. This one's really tall. And I had my sock project in here. I had 2 skeins because I was knitting them from 2 different skeins, 2 at a time. And there was plenty of room. I think you could put the beginnings of a sweater project in a bag this size, or like a shawl project or something, a hat. There's lots of stuff that could fit in here. But I like that it's so tall because then when I'm knitting out of it, I just roll the top down like this, and it becomes like a little bucket. And I can just carry it around with me. So, and I use this blue contrast on the inside is actually a bed sheet that I had bought secondhand and I made a dress out of it, and then I had a bunch of scraps left. So yeah, there's this little guy. It's very cute. And then I made this one, which I apologize. I have a bunch, you can tell I have a thing with finishing because there's just a bunch of strings hanging off of this. But this is made with a canvas. I bought some canvas at my local creative reuse thrift store, and I made this guy, which is kind of a weird size, but it worked out. So it's just like a canvas outerwards, and then I put this little hook on the outside so I could put it around my wrist and carry it with me if I'm walking and knitting or something. And then for the lining, I also used this quilt cotton, but I made it a little bit longer so that I could kind of drawstring the lining closed, and it doesn't close all the way. It really needs, the lining needs to be a little bit bigger. But it does help to kind of drawstring it closed a little bit and keep everything inside a little bit more easily. So this one's not perfect either, but it's really handy, and this holds quite a lot. I think I had the beginnings of a sweater in here for a while. And honestly, let's see if I could fit this guy in there. Oh yeah, this could very easily fit a sweater project. So yeah, there's that guy. I would like to make another one. I have some more canvas. I'd like to make that one that's a little bit taller. And maybe put different handles on it. I like that it has a closure. I want them to have closures. And I've done all of mine drawstring just because that's what I have. But yeah, I like that it has a closure, and I like this little detail. It looks pretty professional, besides the fact that my thread is like a weird color. But I'm not an expert seamstress. I'm actually a pretty lazy seamstress. But it gets the job done. So yeah, there's my second project bag, which I'm happy with. Holds things very nicely. And then, yeah, so those are all my finished objects. 2 project bags and 5 knitting projects, which is a lot. That's a lot for me in a month. 2 hats, the little baby thing, a sweater, and a vest. That's a lot. It was a pretty, oh, and a pair of socks. It's a pretty productive knitting month. Wait, is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 finished objects. Whew, that's a lot. Very productive knitting month. Not so productive on other things I should be doing, like writing my master's thesis. But, you know, priorities. So yeah, those are all my finished objects. And I just have 2 whips right now because I just finished that little baby jumper yesterday, and the socks I finished this week, and the hat I finished this week. So a lot of this is like very recently finished. And I'm trying to pace myself on new cast-ons. I try to limit myself to 3 whips at a time. Like a sweater project and then 2 smaller projects. Or sometimes it ends up being 2 sweater projects and 1 smaller project. But I like to have at least 1 large project and at least 1 small project so that I can take the small project on the bus with me when I'm going to school. And I can knit the larger project at home. So that's where we're at. So my first whip might be getting frogged. So this is my Nordstrand by Filcolana. It's a free pattern from Filcolana. I know a lot of people had made it lately. And I'm making this. The contrast color is Briggs & Little Regal, which is a Canadian yarn I bought when I was in Canada. And it's the color Fur Green, I think. And the color work is really pretty. It was really fun to do. I had a good time doing it. And then the white I was just using stash yarn. So this whole collar is knit in one yarn. And then all of this color work part is knit in a different white yarn, but you can't really tell the difference. And I bought some more white yarn at the craft store. It's the Lion brand Fisherman's Wool, which is a really good deal. I think I paid $8 for this, and it's like over 200 grams. Very affordable. And it's nice wool, like it's nice yarn. It's really soft, especially once you knit it up. It makes a really nice fabric. The only issue is it's very much a different color from the other yarn I was using. And I'm not sure how well you could tell with the backlight. I'm going to try and make it easier for you to see. I'm just trying to decide if I hate it enough to rip it back. So like you can see very distinctly, it's a very yellow white, and this is a very white white. And I'm just trying to decide if it looks horrible or if it's not that bad. So please let me know what you think. This body that I've done so far, it seems like a lot, but it's just from like I worked on it in the movie theater. So like I don't really count it as lost knitting time if I end up ripping it out. The only thing is that if I end up ripping it out, I'm gonna rip the whole thing out because I don't want to have to buy more plain white yarn. And I even went to my local yarn store to try and find a plain white yarn that matched the upper part. And I found one option, and it was a superwash, and I don't want to use a superwash. So turns out that there are a lot of colors of white yarn in the world. And like even this and this are slightly different color, but not nearly as noticeable as these two. I don't know. You can kind of see the color difference better if I hold them next to each other. But like that is clearly a yellowy white, and this is a white white. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to put this in the naughty corner for a while. Here's the thing. Here's what I was telling my mom yesterday. I may end up ripping it back, but I'm not going to be upset because I'm a process knitter. I knit because I enjoy it, because it's entertaining, because it's intellectually stimulating. So like I really had a good time doing all of this color work, and it turned out really pretty. But if I end up ripping it back and I use the yarn for something else, that's okay because I had a good time knitting the color work. So I don't feel like I could have I could have used that time to knit something else and like have a finished product, but that doesn't really matter to me. I knit because I like to knit, not because I want to have cool things. So, oh, you kind of can't tell I was alternating skeins in this light. Man, this is just wonky. It looks really especially bad in natural light. So in this top part, I ended up alternating skeins a little bit, and I really thought you couldn't tell, but you actually really, really can. Yeah, sitting here looking at this, I just think it looks really bad. And I mean, you can't really tell, but I think it would bother me too much. And yeah, I think I'm going to let it go the more that I talk about it. And it's okay. I'm not that upset. I have so many projects that I want to be knitting right now that I don't want to spend any more time knitting on this if I know I'm not going to love the product, because the straight stockinette is not fun for me. That's not the process knitting that I enjoy. I enjoy the color work kind of process knitting, like the challenging, just like watching the colors, like the pattern come out is really satisfying to me. Just knitting straight stockinette, not satisfying to me, which is why I finished this color work like 2 weeks ago, and this is all that I've done because I just take it to the movie theater with me when I don't have to look at it. So I would rather rip this out and then work on other things that I know I'm gonna like more than finish this just to have it finished, because I don't want to go like sunk cost fallacy and like I've already worked so many hours on this, I have to finish it. Like no, I'd rather just cut my losses. I can use this plain white yarn for so many other things. I can use it for dyeing, I can use it for smaller projects, I can use it for gifts. Like it's not going to be lost or wasted. So that's where I'm at on this guy. I feel like I'll put a picture in so you can just see. I mean, you can kind of see like it's very yellow compared to this. Like that's not the same. That's very clearly not the same color. Very clearly not the same. So I think I've made up my mind that that's gonna go, which is okay because I have quite a few other sweaters that I'm really excited to work on, which I will talk about in a minute, but I need to go grab my second whip to show you. Okay, here's my second whip.
they're just barely started. This is another hat. I'm making the October hat by, I don't remember, but I'll put it here for you to see. This designer's great. She has like 12 free hat patterns. She did like a year of hats, and they're all really pretty, but I liked the cables on this one a lot. And I was inspired by Inga from Knitting Traditions, her bright red hat that she made to wear skiing. I just think, generally I'm not a red person, but I got this, like, look how bright it is. I got this in a box of yarn, secondhand yarn that I ordered online. It was kind of like a mystery box. And the color is really pretty. And if I am going to wear a red, I want it to be a warmer red. And this has a lot of orange in it, so it's more flattering on my skin tone than like a blue-based red. So yeah, I've just started this. It's a 2x2 ribbing with a tubular cast on, this is the first time I've done a 2x2 tubular cast on, and you end up actually just doing a normal 1x1 tubular cast on and then rearranging the stitches. So this is how far I've gotten. The yarn is really interesting. I brought the label in here with me. I just had it in my hands. I believe this yarn is also discontinued. It's the Taki Yarns Donegal Tweed Homespun. It's 200 yards, like a worsted weight yarn. And it's really interesting because it really looks homespun. Like you can see it's a single ply yarn, and the twist in it is so interesting. It's got like places where it's kind of over twisted. I need to get myself out of this frame so you can see. It's really nuppy and kind of thick and thin, and it's got these like kinks in it. So it feels like knitting with hand spun yarn, which is fun. And it's nice to knit with. It's a very, very rustic yarn, but I think it will be okay for a hat. I haven't washed it or anything, but I expect it will wash really nicely. So that's my second finished object. I just started this like a day or two ago after I finished my camel hat. So yeah, there's this guy. I'm hopeful to have it done in time for my trip, which I'm very excited. We're going, if you haven't watched my previous videos, my husband James and I are going on a trip to Norway, Denmark, and Iceland this month over my spring break. We're gonna be gone for 10 days, and I'm really excited. I've never been to Norway or Iceland before, and as a yarn lover, it's like the perfect destination. So, on that note, thank you to everyone who left me comments and recommendations of things to look for and things to buy while I'm there. If anyone who's watching this video has not watched my previous video, if you have recommendations for things to do, see, buy, yarn to check out in Norway, Denmark, or Iceland, please let me know. I'm going to be in Oslo, Bergen, Copenhagen, and around Reykjavik. So let me know if you have any recommendations. So yeah, I'm hopeful to have that red hat done for my trip. That's why I've been knitting so many hats, because it's going to be cold. But I'm so excited. I have like a really, really long list. I'll put like a screenshot of it here of all the brands I want to check out that aren't super accessible in the US that I want to check out when I'm abroad. So yeah. Okay, so that's all my whips, and I don't have any acquisitions this month. Very proud of, oh, I have one more whip. This is a sewing whip. And I am making a quilt. She might be like, that's kind of weird, random, but I've started it. I have all my quilt blocks, so I'm making this with like just scrap fabric. I keep all my scraps. I try not to waste. And so I cut a lot of my scraps into just these 3" by 3" squares and piece them together in like a buffalo check kind of thing. So I have 4 corners are the same, and then the two sides are the same, and then the middle is different. And I have all different blocks, and they're just made with scrap fabric that I had. And I bought some scrap fabric as well from my creative reuse thrift store. I got like a filled up bag for $1, and so it's in blues, purples, greens, and yellows, and whites. And this is just the first 2 columns. I started piecing it together, you can kind of see, and then my bobbin ran out and I got tired. But yeah, this is what it's gonna look like. It's not huge, the quilt, but yeah, this is what we've got going. This is my little quilt top that I started. This is not the first quilt I've made. When I was really young, like in 7 or 8 years old, I did a lot of sewing. I made clothes for my American Girl dolls, and I made them a quilt one year that actually looks a lot like this quilt that my mom had made for me. So technically this is not my first quilt, but it's my first, like, you know, quilt for a human being and not like this big of a quilt for a doll. But anyway, that's a project that I'm working on when my wrist gets tired. So that's all my whips. No acquisitions because I'm trying not to buy yarn right now. I have plenty of stash I need to use up. But I do have a couple upcoming projects that I wanted to talk to you about. So the one I'm going to cast on today, like once I finish filming, is the Aros sweater by Petite Knit. And this is my swatch for it. I'm using leftover Plotulopi. So all of the colors except for the blue are Plotulopi. The blue is a unspun yarn from White Buffalo, which is it's a Canadian brand that actually no longer exists, but I got it secondhand. So I have blue, like this beige color. I'm going to see if I can remember all the color names. I also didn't bind off. This is literally just live stitches floating here because I like to live on the edge. Here, this seems to work better. So we've got, this blue is the White Buffalo. The white is light beige heather, I want to say, or maybe, I don't remember honestly the colors. The green is clover green, the brown is marsh, and then there's a light beige heather and like a natural heather, this darker color and then this lighter color. So the order I think I'm going to end up doing is basically this order, but I'm switching this brown and this white, so it's more like this but not those two together. So yeah, I'm making the Aros sweater by Petite Knit, which is a striped sweater. And I'm going to make mine a little bit more with a little more ease than the pattern recommends. I think the medium is what I'm going to end up making, or maybe the large. But I'm just holding one strand of the Plotulopi, so it's going to be a really nice, thin, light, airy fabric. And I'm just trying to use up the stuff I have in stash, which is like, I have like 3/4 of a plate of all of these colors, so I have plenty. Yeah. And then the other thing I want to cast on is the Nord sweater by Hannah Riemann. It's like a brand new pattern that she just released, and it finally came out in English this week. It's really pretty. I'll put a picture so you can see, but it's like striped. It's like a relaxed fit, and it has stripes and then a little bit of like color work, kind of checked stripes that are really pretty. And I was originally thinking I would do it in a green yarn that I have, but then I thought, I have this linen quill that my mom bought me for Christmas. It's a Pearl Soho linen quill, which is a wool, alpaca, and linen blend that everyone on the internet seems to love. And I have it in this really pretty color. I think it's called Rosewood Pink. And I think I'm going to use this for that with a white contrast color. I did a swatch, which I have subsequently unraveled because I don't like swatching. I don't want to waste any yarn swatching. So I'll put a picture of the swatch here. My gauge is a little bit off, so I'm just going to go up a size. It's like 2 stitches per 10 centimeters off. So I think it's going to end up being 8 centimeters. If I were to knit with the gauge that I got, the size, it would end up being 8 centimeters smaller than it needed to be. So I'm going to go up a size and it should be fine. But yeah, I'm going to use this Pearl Soho linen quill. I'm going to cast that on soon as well. And I'm not sure that I want to take a sweater project on my trip with me because I don't want to have to carry extra yarn. But this actually might be good because it's a fingering weight yarn and I just need 2 skeins of it. I should, fingers crossed, just need 2 skeins of it because that's all that I have. I might need to end up buying 1 more skein, but we'll see. It's so soft and lovely. I'm really excited about that. And there are so many other projects I want to do. I have some hats I want to do. I really want to do, I've been trying to find the perfect, just like simple white sweater pattern, just like a very simple drop shoulder, because I like a drop shoulder construction. As you can see, I wear things oversized with drop shoulder all the time. It's my preferred shape. And I wanted the perfect oversized drop shoulder plain sweater. And I was thinking I would either do the Oslo sweater or the Stockholm sweater from Petite Knit. But then Rebecca from Crayabea, who I love, knit the sweater number 11 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. And it has this really, really pretty shoulder detail on the back. It's a simple, like plain sweater, but the shoulder construction is beautiful. And I just really liked that detail on the shoulder. I think if you're going to do a simple sweater like that, you need to have some kind of detailing on it that makes it a little bit more special. So I think I'm going to knit that pattern, but without the collar. It has like a turtleneck collar that I think I'm just going to do a normal folded collar, and then it's twisted rib, and I think I'm just going to do normal rib. I prefer it to twisted rib. So that's on my list. I need to swatch for it. I have some socks I want to cast on. I have so many things. You can always check out my queue on Ravelry if you want to see what I'm planning on working on. And then there's a bunch of stuff in my queue as well, because I'm trying to shop intentionally for yarn. So when I go abroad, when I'm on my trip, I have like a bunch of patterns in my queue that I want to make, and I'm gonna buy yarn for specific projects is my plan. Maybe not, I don't know, but that's what I'm hoping. So yeah, that is all I have today. I feel like I still managed to talk for an hour, even though I don't even have any acquisitions to show you, but I just have lots of things to knit, and I'm loving knitting, and it's amazing, and I'm having a great time. And I'm also loving sewing. I think I'm gonna make some more project bags, because turns out these are actually very useful. That's why people use them. So yeah, that's my plan for the next month or so. And my next video that I'm gonna post for you, another mid-month video, is going to be about natural dyeing, because I've got some avocado pits and some onion skins that I'm going to use, and I'm going to show you how I use those things to naturally dye yarn and fabric. So stay tuned for that. I hope you guys enjoyed my previous videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I really had fun sitting down and chatting with you. And I love reading your comments, so thank you for all of those of you who comment on my videos. I really appreciate it. I have so much fun replying to them and chatting with you all. So feel free to leave a comment down below if you would like. Give the video a thumbs up, share it with your friends. It really helps my channel to grow and helps us to make more friends here with each other. So thanks again for that, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe. If I have any viewers in the Ukraine, know that I'm thinking of you and your families, and hoping that the world just gets a little bit more cheerful here in the near future. So thanks again for watching and spending this time with me, and I will see you in my next one.